and facing the southwest at sunset. Like I always say, why do you need glasses? I wear glasses when you have a bottle. I'm going to start off a little slow here, but this video is about anger and about governmental and police corruption and all sorts of things, because somebody needs to tell the truth. A real insider who knows all the dirty, gritty details going back to the 19th century. And I'm gonna have me a smoke. I finally located some of my preferred Korean tobacco ginseng company cigarettes. Most American cigarettes now are just really just carcinogenic. I've got a friend that's been doing 9 months of chemo because he keeps trusting American brands. He's a smart guy, but he's smart in kind of a certain way. Anyway. Yes, these cigarettes have additives, but they're the best mix, and Winston's additive free. Only stayed on the market for a little while, and around here you can't hardly find American Spirit, and I'm not going to pay $100 a carton for American Spirits. It's just not going to happen, because they're still probably based on crappy American tobacco. This is not. So what I want to talk about, and that sun's dropping quick. Actually, about after 3 p.m., it's already dropped 20 degrees. I need to have something on my head. I'd even put my yarmulke on. 2 minutes in, I may go 30 minutes if I feel like it. The point is that you don't really know where I'm at. I'm actually pretty close to where my mother was born. And in that direction is one Burleson County, Texas, which is where I got to start right now. And my father was born in that direction and beat patch number 5 at another county and stuff like that. So I know what the hell I'm talking about. That was a flock of low-flying, I can't even tell what they were, birds. I love birds. I haven't told you on this channel, but on my primary channel I have, about how badly I've been, especially by lesbians. I've been framed by lesbians 3 times, beginning in Burleson County. This is all really, I don't really want to focus on where I'm at. Actually, once I put up the name Caldwell, those Caldwellians, etc., who constantly Googling everything in their range are going to find out where I'm at. They're going to know who I'm at, and only a few of them are going to know I'm telling them 100% the truth from now on. So help me God, 25 years penalty of perjury. What a mess. You know, I'm not saying that the area around here that I live in is better than any place else. It is in some ways. But when it comes to like corrupt cops, people in the top 1 to 10% acting like jackasses and getting away with it, that was actually one of our primary topics today in town. Well, everybody was stocking up because we got the great blizzard coming or whatever. Yeah, we might get like a inch of snow. Not even tonight, tomorrow night. What I want to talk about is that, you know, a long time ago, I had this problem with a neighbor who his buddies, the owners of the land, had been off in San Antonio for 80 years. I could actually sue them out of their property under the laws regarding failure to, you know, secure your property, etc. But, you know, they shot the place up. They're shooting wild. My neighbors, who now I'm on the house with the ones that are closest, except for one guy over here who's never here, and and another guy in that direction who's really never here except for his ruthless criminal children and stuff like that. I bet you I go 20, 25. Lately, my uploads have been really quick, so I don't care. I mean, my last two uploads were, I did 15 minutes in like 3 hours. My record is like 90 minutes, and my last 30-minute video I uploaded in 4.5 hours. So I've had uploads that stall at around 55 hours. You know. So anyway, this is all about Caldwell, Texas, which has always been full of, just like Bryan and anywhere else. This is, you know, those people that tell you that their town is special or whatever. No, they're not. I've been all around this country and all around this world. And no. In every little town, big town, it's just a bunch of ruffians and crooks. The cops are always crooked because even the one good cop who's young and shit is covering up for the old cops that are committing felonies 20 times a day. They're all crooked. That's why I no longer even speak to my cousin Nathan, because he tried to talk to me over there in Caldwell. Oh gosh, what was that? Like 10 years ago, he tried to stop me and talk to me, and I go, nope. Nathan's a good guy. He's been working on the Austin PD for a long time, but he's still covering up for bad cops. And a lot of this, what this is about, is how bad things have gotten here. Around me, like there's used to be, actually the immediate properties around me were all empty. Now I got like 4 neighbors. Oh no, 2, 3. Yeah, 4 neighbors within like a mile of me, and they're recent. And actually, thankfully, half of them don't live here. They're not here they're not full time. I love these Korean cigarettes. They're, please, American tobacco. I've studied your production methods over the last 40 years. I'll trust the Koreans before I trust you, retards. But I spent almost 12, 14 years getting 2 law officers who are not members of the sheriff's department in Burleson County, Texas, Caldwell, to come out here and stake the place out and confirm what had plenty of officers, but they just blah, 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 blah. Because the deputies, actually, I'll get to it. They stay out of my neighborhood because there's almost no crime here, and there's a lot of people who are connected to the inner circle, the inner party. Very Orwellian going on here now, but it's Trumpian Orwellian, and they're angry at me because they know that I'm not Trump's biggest fan. You people that say that Trump is the best president ever, you're retarded. And you 75 million who voted for a retarded pedophile, demented pedophile like Joe Biden, please don't take your medication. Just walk off the nearest bridge. But on New Year's Eve, I called a Hispanic detective named Deputy Garza. Was responding. He came out. He went to a certain county road, whatever, and he quickly realized I described the house perfectly where the shots were coming from, intermittent with some fireworks. Please, I'm an old soldier. I can tell the difference between, I can actually tell you what kind of weapon's been fired, where it's been fired, and this guy was also using, and probably is no good, Trump-loving wife. They would alternate between shooting wildly in the air, and then they would follow with some of them sis-boom by fireworks. You can always tell the difference between anybody's skill knows what I'm talking about. Firearms make distinct sounds, and so do fireworks. Fireworks that make a boom often have a little sizzle at the end. Anyway, and Deputy Garza was calling me on my cell, and Then after about, on the third call, he said, Sheriff Hermes told me to tell you to stop calling about the illegal discharge of firearms at night. What? You're trying to tell me to stop reporting crime in my neighborhood? No shit, that actually happened. I got the phone records to prove it. Then the next day, January 1st, all night, not just four neighbors that are connected to the inner Orwellian party here. I don't care if you're a Trumpian or whatever. You're talking to an independent conservative. I know that the Republicans and Democrats are just two heads of the same snake. You can't con me. You know, but around here they're really angry that Trump lost. Trump was obviously going to lose. He's a fucking jerk that knows nothing about the economy. It's cost me millions of dollars. It's after the Obama and Hillary Secretary of State fiasco and their Saudi buddies. I'm closing in, not even 11 and a half minutes. I'm probably going to go at least 20 something here. So Sheriff Gene Hermes actually tells Deputy Garza to tell me to stop reporting criminal, lethal activity. Please, all of us who are here that are older than Gene Hermes or Sheriff Dale Stroud, who's not a dishonorable man, he's just stupid, or the sheriff before him, which I got him taken down too. And actually, Stroud was just sitting in for Thomas. I got to put this out here. Thomas Norsworthy, because I've got insider information. And that's one of the reasons they're mad at me. I got somebody on the inside that told me, which didn't appear in the local papers and nobody knew until I told them, that Thomas Norsworthy, Republican, church-going married man, a few years ago, actually, that was an election in which actually almost no Democrats ran. There actually hasn't been a Democrat in office in this county for a long time. Even the NAACP guy he just shut up and left. Yes. But I know what I know because my guy's good. He's on the inside. Thomas Norsworthy, 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 W-Y. The chicks ratted him out. The next to last lesbian that framed me was Detective Andrea Guidry, who continued in her, even though the judges and everybody threw out her arrest of me by 8 a.m. the next morning after I was arrested. Anyway, long story. And she kept testifying against men. She only arrested men, never women, twisted everything, lied. Even jurors caught her lying in court. That's how you people, if you're not smart or connected, or it doesn't matter whether you're black or white, it has nothing to do with it. It's all about your local courthouse and the ethnicities and the connections there, because our local courthouse was run for a long time by the Czechs. I'm not even at 15. I'm going to go 20 to 30 minutes and upload tonight while I'm sleeping off this bottle, which I need to hit again right now. So, and then after Andrea Guidry, the assistant district attorney who had been here for at least 26 years, Joan Scroggins, she indicted me because all grand juries are just rubber stampers. They pick out drunks and pot smokers and drug addicts. They know who they are to do the same grand jury duty all the time, everywhere. please, I tell everybody, I was attacked one day in the courthouse when a guy asked me for advice, and I told him, yeah, sure, but let's step outside. And I was headed for the elevator for him. He was one of the guys that was swept up into a local theft ring who had stolen about $1 million worth of farming equipment and stuff like that, and sold it on the black. This guy had unintentionally and unknowingly bought stolen goods, and they were trying to. He asked me, should I? Because they were trying to get him to testify to the grand jury. Rule number 1: never talk to grand juries, because they're just rubber stamps of the district attorney and stuff like that. Actually, as he and I were heading, because a deputy and one of the assistant district attorneys, who hasn't been here in a long time, tried to jump us before we got into the courtroom floor elevator. And this is exactly what I said. Hang on, I'm going to repeat it word for word, verbatim. This man dressed in a suit, a large-scale profitable farmer who accidentally bought some farming equipment and turned out to be stolen. And he saw me. You could kind of tell by the way I was dressed and the way I moved around that courthouse that they knew me there. And if you don't, actually, there's a bunch of people now, because we're just being flooded by Yankees and Californicados and weirdos and creepos, and I'll talk about that in another subject. Up until about 10 or 15 years ago, if you didn't instantly recognize me in the Burleson County Courthouse, then you were a nobody. You're a retard, because if you go sideways on me, I'm going to kick your ass. You're going to be out of a job real quickly. But anyway, this guy asked me for my advice about testifying before the grand jury. And I told him, actually, I got to repeat what I said before I took a drink. What was that guy's name? It was like Ed something. And then, the husband of the court reporter. Won't say the name now, because I think she's dead and he's dead too. And as we started to get on the elevator, they rushed us, and we're going like, whoa, wait. And I just leaned into him. I said, sirs, this man asked me for my opinion, my legal opinion, and I will give it to him free of charge. And I am not committing the felony known as barratry. He's getting my opinion free of charge. Back off. And they did. We went down. I told him, don't go in front of the grand jury. Doesn't matter what you say. Don't matter what you produce. The grand jury is just a rubber stamp for every prosecutor everywhere. Every DA, ADA, everywhere. Never testify before a grand jury. My whole family knows that. I've done it just to piss them off. Yeah, one time. Well, actually twice. Actually, one of the times I had to do it was to get a guy convicted of the murder and rape of his own aunt, Raymond Shupak, the junior or third, who technically is like some distant cousin of mine. Fuck that retard. Anyway, that's how bad it is. And I know, actually Burleson County used to have a really great, honest judge. His name was the Honorable Judge John or Jack Plackey, Placke Jr., who one day told me when we were taking a break and stuff like that, we went out to have a smoke break on the kind of the southwest side of the courthouse, and he told me, he goes, Kent, that's my real name. You haven't heard it yet? Too bad. So Kent, these marijuana laws are just ridiculous bullshit. And he goes, but I got a job to do. I got to enforce the laws. That's what they pay me for. And I said, I understand. Because Jack Plocky was the first guy to really hear me out and notice my skill with attorneys. I was being sued by this crooked lesbian attorney who the first one to frame me ended up shooting herself in the head. And he gave me a permanent injunction against her before she was trying to get a permanent injunction against me. You people don't really know me at all on this channel or anywhere. Because, number one, I don't want to associate with most of you. I want to just keep driving home that in the last, it's now like 4 years since Thomas Norsworthy ran against, in the Republican primaries, there was nobody in the Democratic primaries, which means as soon as he beat that guy, it's automatic election here. Because here in Texas, if you win the primaries, your name doesn't even appear on the ballot. He was up against the husband of the crooked lesbian cop who fed him tons of money, but really only hung out with his lesbian sister, Glenda Terrell, and stuff like that. You know, and they just murdered him. And, you know, but Thomas Norsworthy was a complete crap bastard. I can't defame a dead man who was caught. We all know. I just went through some searches and stuff like that. The county and the county paper, stuff like that. The Burleson County Tribune, Citizen Tribune, which actually goes back to like 1849 or something like that. They just try to cover all this crap up. But Thomas Norsworthy was caught trading fellatio and other stuff with Detective Andrea Guidry and several rather. Andrea Guidry was at least attractive, about 5 foot tall, 80 pounds, couldn't whip a 50-pound-year-old boy or put cuffs on him. And several Burleson County jailer women, they were trying to just get like an 80-cent an hour raise or something like that. They were in there. You people in Caldwell, most of you are not even from Caldwell now. I'm going to label this as Caldwell, Texas, because I know every day you get on your computer and stuff and you type in Caldwell, Texas, looking for your own name or some other shit. You're going to see this. You're going to talk all kind of shit. And actually, like the last person that subscribed to this channel probably was from Caldwell. But I'm telling you right now, you're not going to get anywhere with me. Caldwell has been a cesspool forever, just like every city. Every city. The editor of the Bryan Daily Eagle, a guy from South Africa, what was his last name? I forget it. He actually invited me to write a series of editorials and stuff like that. And one day I went in to talk to him about the editorial he had just of mine, my letter to the editor he had just written. And it was stuff like that and I was talking about, look, I may be one of the Kruger brothers, but I've never indulged in football babbitry. And people with at least a bachelor's, master's in English know what the term babbitry means. It's in regards to the writings of Sinclair Lewis. But I'm trying to warn you right now. If you live in Caldwell, Texas, or in Burleson County, Texas, for a long time, I already know all about you. And the new people already know about you because y'all are coming from liberal Colorado, Massachusetts, California. That's been the 3 primary ones I've run into lately. You're all a bunch of shitheads that don't really give a fuck about you. And you're supporting a guy, Gene Hermes, that goes back to the corruption of one of the first sheriffs to know that I was completely and even was submissive to Dale Stroud, who's an okay guy, but he was with Texas Parks and Wildlife before. I'm going to relight that sucker. You Caldwellians, I've read over a century and something of the recorded history of you bunch of hooligans. When my father was the most respected guy in Caldwell, he was the only paid fireman. My mother didn't marry him until he already had his first farm. And the first, and actually at the time that was the newest brick building in Caldwell in 1933 at the end of the Prohibition. The whole top floor is just one house. That's what it says and all. My mother waited until made my father wait and stuff like that. My father was not only the only paid fireman in the history of Caldwell, Texas, which never since. They're all volunteers. It's now 26 minutes. I got to tell the story real quickly. My father would go out on these during the Depression. My father, William Wayne Kruger, Sr., would go out on these fire calls at around 2 to 3 a.m. because these drunken, ruling assholes of Caldwell, because in those days, I'm trying to set up how corrupt this community has been forever. If I leave some shit out, too bad. This is a true story because my mother didn't even tell this stuff until after my father was dead. My father never talked ill of anybody. Never. I grew up in a home full of any kind of racial, religious, or political indoctrination. My father, it's sunset now. I can see it right now. My father was endlessly, while he was also running the power plant during the Depression that powered the entire Caldwell, Texas area. At that time, probably less than 2,500 people for everybody in reach of those lines. And he also oversaw the jail, the blockhouse jail behind the firehouse and stuff like that. But he would get called out in the middle of the night while these rich Czechs, primarily Czechs, and a few Englishmen who ruled the town, they would set fire to their garages, which in the old days, garages were always separate from the house. Cars were a new invention, and garages would never. And my dad would come home, he'd go into the shower, take off his clothes and stuff like that. He'd put the fire out himself. And my mother, while she'd be helping him, handing him soap and towels and stuff, she'd go, Wayne, where'd you get them bruises? And my father wouldn't talk because he had told her eventually, the locals, the people in Caldwell, Texas, who were trying to commit insurance fraud, because since the garages were separate from the house, and they actually used to come out there when he would he'd drive up with them, Little France. He picked up in Illinois, Indiana, and he'd be putting it out and stuff like that. And these Hanyaks would come out there in the middle of the night with like a pickaxe handle or a 2x4 and start beating my giant 6.5 foot, 300-pound daddy, just like me, on the back, yelling, Wayne, Wayne, let it burn. Wayne, Wayne, let it burn. Because my dad didn't know that it had to burn all the way to the ground for them to collect on the insurance fraud. But that didn't stop my father. And it won't stop me from talking shit. This is probably only episode 1 about the fucking heathens, shitheads, criminals, and Republicans and Democrats here are equally corrupt. This is what it's all about. Fuck all of you people. I'm an independent conservative who will not vote for either head, not even libertarian, of the snake that is the actual military-industrial complex. Go fuck all yourselves, especially in Caldwell, Texas. Because you belong to me.